Okay, we're live, but we're going to wait for about 2 minutes. Hold on while we wait for the rest of the affiliates to sign in. Waiting on Foxhole right now. It looks like everyone else is already live. Oh, mouse is lagging a little bit today. Hold on a little bit there, Earth Explorers. Okay. Foxhole's up, Rumble's up. Looks like everybody is live except for Twitch. No, Twitch just came up. Good. Everybody's 5x5 except Facebook. Okay. Well, in about 1 minute, we will go live with the studio. Welcome to America Free Radio. I think you're really going to like tonight's program. Of course, you can follow us on any one of the platforms that you see on the screen. Rumble, Odyssey, YouTube, Twitter, DLive, Facebook, Twitch, and Foxhole. Whichever one is your favorite. If it begins to buffer a little bit, that means too many people are on, and you need to switch to another platform if you want to get a clean stream. That's okay. That's why we expand the market, so that you can continue to get the program without any buffering. Just give us a second, and we'll bring the studio in about 55 seconds, something like that. Okay, all is good. We're just waiting for the chat room to log on. Looks like it's live and all the notifications have gone out to YouTube. Yes, Blue Otter's in. Good. All right, everything seems to be working. Let's go ahead and bring the studio in now. Give me a second here to find them. There we go.
Sitting there unused. Seemed like not having another soda would have been a big waste.
Food analysts report that at a 3-cent per gallon cost to Burger King, Turnby would need to consume more than 250 drinks to get his 94 cents worth. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News. Online at theonion.com.
You must unite what has been set aside.
RTFR, Truth Frequency Radio.
Here we go, hour one. Greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future, and here the results are always positive. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear, because you will be safely traveling with us. We are streaming live tonight through the Truth Frequency Radio Network on audio out TalkStream Live. It is where the Truth Freaks hang out, and we are not afraid to let our Truth Freak flag fly. Listening to us will treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. We're also streaming to you live through several free speech video platforms: Foxhole, Twitch, Facebook, DLive, Twitter, Odyssey, and Rumble. And we're also streaming through YouTube because of the high number of subscribers that we have on YouTube, and we want the notifications to go out. However, you're not going to be able to view the entire program on YouTube because Google routinely violates our civil rights by censoring our free speech. So what we will do when we get to the free speech zone, which is in about 15 minutes from now, we will say goodbye to YouTube. So all of those people that got the notification and are on because of YouTube, that's no problem. Just go to the links right down here in the description. There are several wonderful free speech platforms, whichever one you like, Twitch or Foxhole or Rumble or Facebook or whatever you want to go to. The audio and video is flawless on all of them. And if you miss anything, it's no problem. It's archived on all of these platforms. My guest tonight at 8:30 Eastern Time, we're going to bring on Ian Trottier. He is a podcaster himself. He has a program on Wednesday evenings at 5 p.m. And he is on the Winwood One or winwood1.com network in Miami. And he talks about all kinds of stuff. And his program is called Discussions of Truth. And I met Ian at a Patriot Voice event in Dallas, Texas, right after my birthday, as a matter of fact. And in May. Great guy, puts on a very good program, had press passes there. We did a bunch of interviews. It was a good connection. So we're having him on our program tonight because we're kind of like-minded, and we wanted to have a discussion with you. And the call-in lines are open, 213-233-3998, 213-233-3998. And so our first story tonight is on this a measurement that they have recently decided is probably legitimate. There are mysterious structures in the sky that have puzzled astronomers for a long time, for decades, maybe as long as I've been alive. And they might finally have an explanation. And it is not what you think. No, it's not a dome, okay? Gosh, I have those discussions. I really don't like them because I just have to be quiet and sip and smoke my cigar because anyway, the North Polar Spur and the Fan region on the opposite sides of the sky, if you look up at the night sky, it may be connected by a vast system of magnetic filaments. Now, we've always been able to measure this for a long, long time, maybe 40 years. And these kind of form a structure resembling not a dome, but a tunnel, okay, a tunnel. And it actually circles the solar system like a giant donut and many nearby stars besides. It's rather large. If we look up at the night sky, this is astronomer Jennifer West of the University of Toronto in Canada, we would see this tunnel-like structure in just about every direction we looked. That is, if we had eyes that could see radio light. That's what she says. Now, we've known about the two structures for quite some time, since the 60s, in fact, but they have been difficult to understand, and that's because it's really hard to work out exactly how far away they are. Distances have ranged from hundreds of thousands of light years away, which is a long way. It's halfway across the galaxy. However, no analysis has ever linked the two structures together. West and her colleagues were able to show that the two regions, the Polar Spur and the Fan West, and prominent radio loops in the space between them can be linked, solving many of the puzzles that they have had before them for many decades. A few years ago, one of our co-authors, Tom Landecker, told me about a paper from 1965 from the early days of radio astronomy, based on the crude data available at this time. The authors, Mathewson and Milne, speculated that these polarized radio signals could arise from our view of the local arm of the galaxy from inside it. This is what astronomer Jennifer West is saying. Now, if you know anything about the Milky Way galaxy, you notice that it's a spiral galaxy, and our sun is a main sequence sun on the outer rim. I know that sounds so Star Trek-y, but it's the outer rim of the Milky Way galaxy, way out on the outside, and we are called a main sequence sun. We would be of interest, but it's not a huge sun, but it's of interest because worlds our size and gravity typically orbit suns like this. Now, she says, the paper inspired me to develop this idea and tie my model to the vastly better data that our telescopes give us today. Using modeling and simulations, the researchers figured out what the radio sky would actually look like if converted to visible light. And they actually connected up the magnetic filaments. What would it look like? And they played with the parameters such as distance to determine the best fit. And when we talk about fit in statistics, we're not talking about, fitting a door inside an aperture of a vehicle. We're not talking about that kind of fit. We're talking about statistical numbers with very little error lining up on the slope. So the closer a scatter plot can make a straight line, the better the fit. We call it the R squared value. We're taking the range of the data that falls off that line that we've drawn through all that data, that regression line, and we're taking the square of it, and we want that number to be as close to 1 as we can get it. Like 1 to 1, that's a perfectly straight line. But typically we usually think in terms of nines, like is it 2 nines or 3 nines or 4 nines? If it's 0.999, that's premium fit. If it's like 0.992, that's a good fit. It does show correlation, but it could be better. And if it's like 0.85, it's a cloud. There's not much correlation there. You better go back and check your measurements or at least your error. And that's why when we have a confidence interval, you hear statisticians all the time talking about confidence intervals. This is what we're talking about. It has a 95% confidence interval or a 98% or a 90% confidence interval. That's what we're talking about, is the line fit. So from this data, the team was able to determine that the most likely distance for the structures from the solar system is about 350 light years, consistent with some of the closer estimates. This includes an estimate of the distance of the North Polar Spur earlier this year, based on Gaia data, which found that almost all of the spur is within 500 light years, and the entire length of the tunnel, modeled by West and her team, is about 1,000 light years. So light intensity of the North Polar Spur and fan region is, when you convert it to visible light or color, you can definitely see it. I may leave the images in my newsletter, which, by the way, is free. It's free. That means it doesn't cost anything. Yeah, you can go to my website, which is americafreeradio.com, or my personal website, brooksagnew.com, And right there on the front is a button, and you can click it, and it's super simple to sign up for the newsletter. It goes out every Wednesday, every Sunday. You could delete it if you want, but it has some good information, and it has the link to tonight's program. So if you tuned in late, you can click on the link, you can watch it again, or better yet, you can share it with a friend. You can take that link and you can share it with a friend. That's what we want you to do, because that helps grow the radio program. Now, more work, of course, is going to be needed to confirm these findings and then model the structure in greater detail, but doing so may help to solve an even bigger mystery: the formation and the evolution of the magnetic fields in galaxies and how these fields are maintained. It also could, the researcher said, provide context for understanding other magnetic filamentary structures around the galaxy. The team is planning to perform more complex modeling, but they suggest more sensitive, higher resolution observations, which means more expensive equipment, which means they're going to have to go to Congress and get a grant, which means you'll be paying for it. But, you know, is it worth it to know this? I think so. I mean, look at LIGO. They spent, what, $300 million on that observatory, and they detected a black hole directly. Who knows what they'll be able to find with these observatories? The one thing we do know is that magnetic fields, they don't exist in isolation. They have to have a source. They're all going to be connected to each other. That's the way flux works in the universe. So a next step, obviously, is to better understand how this local magnetic field connects to both larger scale galactic magnetic fields and also to the smaller scale magnetic fields of our sun and the Earth. This goes along with the idea of an electric universe, but when we talk about an electric universe, we're basically talking about an electromagnetic universe. That's what we're really talking about. Because, you know, as powerful as gravity seems to be, and we look at black holes or big planets like Jupiter sucking up asteroids for us, it doesn't explain the macro movements in the universe. What we need to have is an idea that the electric universe seems to solve, and that is that there's something much longer and much more correlative in the universe than gravity. And that's where these electromagnetic filaments will play a part. And they could also be used to navigate, I think. If we ever get something that can go between star systems, this is what we're really talking about. Okay, in about 15 minutes, we're going to bring Ian Trottier on. He is a friend I met at the Dallas Patriot Voice event over my birthday in May. There's going to be another of these events this Friday. Yeah, this Friday. I'm going to be there. I'm already in pre-Las Vegas calm down mode. I'm not going to be worth much at work this week. Because mentally I'm going to be packing the whole time, okay? So the point is that the Patriot Voice is one of the many surrogate movements that are going on around the country. This one is the Patriot Voice. There's one in Salt Lake City. There's one in Florida called Club 45. There are other groups called, you know, the Save America PAC. And there are a dozen others. And I encourage you in the next 12 months, that's a long time, you should put your money together and you should go to one of them. Now they're, you know, $400 to $700 typically, but the money goes to a good cause and you'll come home excited and you'll come home trained and informed, and you should go. So you find out which one you're close to. Get a hold of me, get a hold of Ian, which will give you his contact information here shortly. Get a hold of, Jason Frank or any of the other people we've had on our program and talk to them about going to these events. We need your voice. We need your body there to yell and to participate and be boots on the ground. And, of course, we need your money. So, because it takes a lot of money to fight the global syndicate, that's just the way of the world, and you can't get around it. So, if you're going to put money in an envelope, you might as well go participate in something instead of just sending it off to a candidate and wondering whose lunch they're going to buy with it, right? Yeah, I'm serious. So, let's see, what else can we talk about while the YouTubers are here? Let me talk to my chat room for a second. Yes, there are a lot of people on YouTube, and we love you. We want you to stay, but YouTube is part of Google, and Google violates our civil rights on these programs. So we usually say goodbye to them somewhere in the program so we can talk about more free speech of type of subjects. So there are a few of you out there on YouTube, and you should prepare yourself that in the next few minutes, we're going to say bye-bye to YouTube. There are other free speech platforms right down here at the bottom. All of these are open platforms, totally free speech platforms, and you can go on there and you can resume the program with us. We want you to do that because there's a lot of great information. Alan Holman says he's reading an article about how no helium or lithium was created before the development of the first stars in our galaxy. Well, it's possible. I don't think so, because hydrogen, as you know, is the most plentiful element in the universe. And helium is the product of fusing hydrogen together to make helium, right? We're talking about two protons. So helium is quite plentiful in the universe, and our planet, because, we have atmosphere, mostly we have helium-4. Helium-3 is rare on our planet, except around volcanoes. It takes energy to create it, and it quickly converts or reacts to become helium-4. Helium-4 is what we fill the party balloons with. Helium-3 has been collecting on the moon for millions and millions and millions of years, and there's a crater so large, we call it the Shackelford crater, it can contain as much as a 10,000-year fuel supply for Earth. Yeah, 10,000 years. Totally clean energy. No carbon involved. Pure fusion power. Okay, we could replace all the fission plants we have on the Earth, and it could probably open at least the rest of the solar system to us for manned exploration because of the fusion rocketry that could be utilized from it. Space Link and Landru, I'm not going to talk about flat earthers. Now, there are other programs that like to waste their time on such nonsense, but we're not going to do that here. Oh, my mic has static. Well, that very well could be. Hang on one second. Let me back my... Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. I look like I was clipping a little bit up there on the screen, so that should do it. Right? No more static? It should be okay now? Oh. Well, Mona Lee is saying that D-Live is crapping out, so I hate that because we have a lot of D-Live listeners. And D-Live normally does a very good job, but there must be a lot of people on D-Live right now eating up the bandwidth. Yeah. Look, the only way to prove this, Space Link and Lander, is to go to the moon, okay? We need to go to the moon. We need to mine the crater. And then we'll access the fuel supply. And there's one other small detail. We kind of need to do helium-3 fusion. I forgot to mention that. We haven't really done it yet. We've done, cold fusion with helium-3 and deuterium, but that doesn't really count because we don't give a crap about cold fusion. We want hot fusion. We want the energy from it so we can perpetuate the reaction. It could make a bomb, yes, but that's not the smart use of it. The smart use of it is to create energy. Much smarter to create energy than weapons, I think. And if we can do it... Yeah, keep trying, D-Live. If we can do it, we end up with fusion rocketry, which reduces the amount of time it takes to get to Mars from its current, on the short side, 7 months, if we just time that Hohmann maneuver perfectly, to about 2 years. But it will reduce all that to about 70 days. And I got to tell you, I just don't think astronauts are ready for a 12 months in a can that far out in space. I mean, the mental stress would be incredible. You'd have to get updates all the time, and the further out you get, the slower the updates get. You'd be subjected to solar ejections, which you'd have no protection from at all other than the shielding around the craft. And, you know, we're talking Fantastic Four stuff here. We're talking enough, you know, radiation to crispy you in that thing, no matter what kind of shielding you put on it. I don't even think you could lift the shielding into space. That's how heavy and thick it would have to be. Unless you could form a magnetic field around the capsule to, you know, during the storm to route the particles around the craft. That could work. But that's pretty good. Space Lincoln Lander says, I never thought Captain Kirk would be a panty waste. Well, I don't know. You know, he's brave enough to go, and I think that's pretty exciting. He did his trip, and my friend Mike Barra was there to welcome him. And I thought he was pretty cool about it, you know, telling Picard to suck it. I'm just kidding. Maybe he didn't even say that. Listen, in a few minutes we have Ian Trottier coming on. It's going to take me a minute to get it hooked up because we're going to go through our wonderful NDI software in Skype. It's really, really good. And then we're going to get this conversation lit up. And yes, we will leave the phone lines open so you can call in and you can participate. You can ask either one of us questions if you want. He's an actor. Give him a break. He's not really Captain Kirk, okay? He just played one. He's an actor. So he did it. That's cool with me. 325,000 feet is pretty good. Good. Yes, we'll cover the ivermectin and the HCQ thoroughly in our program tonight. But before we do that, we have to say bye-bye to YouTube because we can't mention such words on that program. So we'll go ahead and say goodbye to you now so you don't have to weather through the break. We'll see you, YouTube. We'll see you on Wednesday.